The leaves are changing color, there's a chill in the air, and that can only mean one thing. It's cyclocross season. And even though there's still a ton of road racing happening, it's also time to pull out the knobby tires and get a little dirty. I'm being serious. It is truly cyclocross season, and I know it's hard to actually believe having just finished up such an exciting Tour de France, but with all of that in mind, we are gonna have so much cyclocross coverage here on GCN and on the GCN Race Pass this winter. Now, there are always territory restrictions that are gonna apply, so definitely take a look at the link in the show description for what races are gonna be covered in your country. Now this is our cyclocross season preview, and we're going to be hitting everything from the primetime battles that we expect to see, some challengers to the throne, and even a few riders that could become household names by season's end. We're also going to answer the question on everyone's mind: what will the cyclocross season look like in 2020 due to the worldwide coronavirus outbreak? Elite men's cyclocross, step aside. Last season, it was women's cyclocross that was leading the charge, leaving fans completely speechless, race after race, duel after duel, weekend after weekend. The battles were something for the history books every single weekend. Two riders that stood out above the rest was the current world champion, Celine Carmen Alvarado, who stormed to no fewer than 16 wins last season, including the World Championships, and she just turned 22 this past August. Her main rival, well, that would be Anna Marie Worst, who took home top honors last year in the World Cup overall. Worst and Alvarado finished first and second no less than 10 races last year, essentially becoming mainstays on the podium week in and week out, including at the World Championships, where they had a furious duel to the finish line that will also go down in the history books as one of the best races. Now, the battle between these two were completely epic, and they pushed each other to new heights all throughout last season, and it's a duel that we can expect to see continue into this year's season. It shouldn't come as a surprise that there were over 1,000 UCI points ahead of third place Yara Casterline, who's also the European champion. Now, Casterline only had 4 wins last season as Alvarado and Worst battled for supremacy, but it was Casterline's consistency that made her a mainstay on the podium, so look for her to step up her game after being forced to stand on the bottom step of the podium for a bunch of last season. In fact, while competitors in Cross, Sanne Cant, Yara Casterline, Inge van der Heijden, Celine Carmen Alvarado, Aniek van Alphen, and Manon Bakker haven't been doing any preseason cyclocross races as of yet, but they did just recently finish the Tour de l'Ardèche while racing on the same road team, with Yara Casterline actually finishing just off the podium in 4th place and taking the Queen of the Mountains jersey for the 7-day French stage race on the road. Now, other international stars that we expect to see regularly in the mix this cross season will be 15-time US national champion Katie Compton, Canadian national champion and World Cup winner Magli Rochette, the UK's Anna Kay, Italian superstars Alice Maria Arzuffi and Eva Lechnar, and the Dutch powerhouse Lucinda Brand, who came out swinging last season when she did get on the cross bike. And we can't do a season preview without mentioning the most dominant cyclocross racer of the last decade, 3-time world champion Sanne Cant, who will look to bounce back after, for her standards, an off-season last year. Given the revised road racing calendar heading into November and the incredible success that Van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel have had on skinny tires, the traditional duels that we've come to love over the last years appear to potentially be a thing of the past, at least for the time being, as these two pursue things on skinnier tires. But hopefully we will see some showdowns with these two towards the Cross World Championships, or perhaps even on the road at the most cyclocross road race of the year, Paris-Roubaix. Mathieu van der Poel, our current world champion and #1 ranked racer in the world, told us back in the midsummer during a check-in that we did with him that he expects to race between 10 and 15 cross races as soon as his road commitments wrap up. There's also hope for Van Aert, who posted on Instagram just a couple of days ago, cross is coming. So it sounds like there might be more than a chance that we see these two go head-to-head. World Cup overall winner Toon Aerts, Dvv Trophy overall winner Eli Iservit, and Superprestige winner Laurens Sweeck took home the big series titles last year as our top 3 full-time cyclocross racers from last season. But as we've seen in road racing, cyclocross is becoming a young person's sport, and there's a bunch of under 23 riders that could spice things up for the front of the races for this trio. Under 23 world champion Ryan Camp stuck nearly to an exclusive under 23 program last season, but we do expect to see him racing more in the elites this year. Also, Tom Pidcock, who I mentioned earlier, blitzed to a second place finish at the World Championships at just 21 years old last year and is absolutely flying at the moment, having just won the under 23 edition of the Giro d'Italia and signing for Team Ineos. It's been a good last couple of weeks if you're Tom Pidcock. Another interesting scenario that I want to consider is Thibaut Nice. Now, just 18 years old, he's already been dipping his toes into the elite cross races just a couple of weeks ago at the EKZ Series kickoff in Bern, Switzerland. After dominating the junior category last year, we imagine that Thibaut is going to race a good amount of events in the under 23s, but if you remember, a couple of years ago, a certain Dutchman came flying out of the juniors in his first year U23 to almost win against then elite world champion Niels Alvar at the 2013 Cyclocross in Antwerp in his first season out of the juniors. He then went on the next season to win his first elite world title at 19. That rider, Mathieu van der Poel. It's going to be interesting to see Thibaut's progression throughout this season if he does decide to dip his toes into the elite races. Other hitters we can expect to be on podium duty this season include Dutch riders Lars van der Haar and Corne van Kessel, and Belgian riders Quinten Hermans, Michael van Torenhout, and Yanni Vermeersch. So what will the cyclocross season look like this year? Well, the packed 10 deep wild crowds that have become iconic at events like the Col in Zandhoven, the sand dunes of Koksijde, and the muddy slopes of Namur will be all but silent in 2020. With COVID cases on the rise throughout Europe, the mere start of the cyclocross season was even in doubt. But fear not, there will be cyclocross. Throughout, though, the season will be closed off with little to no fans allowed at the courses, depending on the race, and the riders are only going to be able to be having just 2 support people accompany them inside the course. And it's going to be a very costly affair with constant COVID screenings, isolation requirements, bubbles. All of that is going to be taking place. Many international riders are going to be having to stay in Belgium and stay put with no trips back and forth to the US and UK for the international riders coming over. Simply put, it's going to be harder than ever to race cross this season. And with the ever-evolving changes that we've come to see during this coronavirus outbreak, cancellations and postponement of races are definitely possible. Now, despite the restrictions and threat of cancellations, at the moment, most of the top races are slated to return, and the same 3 premier cyclocross series will dominate the calendar this year. Last year, the UCI announced an expanded 14-race Super Series for the World Cup, and in January, they said that there would be events in the USA, Ireland, and all over Europe. However, COVID unfortunately has affected the global series, with the USA and the Irish rounds being completely scrapped, and even a few Belgian events have been canceled. In particular, the iconic downtown night race in Diegem that was slated to make its World Cup debut this year is out. Currently, the race series is down to 10 rounds. But some of our picks that are still in the World Cup that cannot be missed would include the 2 sandy Belgian classics in Koksijde and in Zandhoven, and the epic cross venue that is Namur at the Citadel in the French-speaking part of Belgium. Then we have the Dvv Trophy, one of the most prestigious series in all of cyclocross. It consists of 8 races, and it starts on October 31st at the infamous Koppenberg, the day before the first World Cup round in Overijse, Belgium. Now, the series is based on time, not points, so it's different. It actually benefits a very consistent rider from every stop along the way. Now, besides the Koppenberg, the Dvv races that cannot be missed has to be the biggest cross race in the world, the Assen Cross in Lohenhout, Belgium, and the infamous GP Sven Nys in Ball. The other major series in the cross circuit is the Telenet Superprestige Series, which first took place in 1983. The Superprestige will kick things off up in Heaton, which is in the Netherlands, on October 11th, and for many cross racers is the true start to their season. Now, the series will include 8 races as well overall and is decided on points. The Superprestige has a ton of iconic cross venues that cannot be missed. Ruddervoorde is one that cannot be missed. The race in Havre with the crazy downhill muddy chute descent, and the iconic racetrack of Zolder, which switches its designation from being a World Cup to a Superprestige for the first time in 2020. Last up is the Atheist Cross. Now, Ethias has no overall classification, and all 8 races are run under the same series sponsors. They also provide live television coverage worldwide, but there is no ranking or overall prize list for this series. The riders don't seem to mind a series with a little bit less pressure to perform week in and week out, like the Dvv Superprestige Series and the World Cup require. There are some classic venues which are part of the Ethias Cross that shouldn't be missed, including Essen, Leuven, and of course Maldegem, which is the midweek race that happens just days after the World Championships, where the new, currently crowned world champions often show off their new rainbow stripes. Lastly, the World Championships and National Championships. First of all, the World Championships are slated to be in their normal time slot on the first weekend of February in Dubendorf, Switzerland. But COVID could disrupt this, and we've even heard rumors about the race potentially considering a venue change already. Now, if you remember, the UCI just a few weeks ago had to abruptly move the Road World Championships from Switzerland to Italy after the country put forward some very stringent crowd restrictions. So these restrictions could very well still be active when Cross World Championships roll around in February, forcing a change of venue. Now, COVID has forced several countries to can their national championships already this season, Canada being the first to do so far, and the Pan American Championship event that was slated to be held at next year's World Championships course in Fayetteville, Arkansas, has also been canceled for 2020. All right, there you have it. A look at who's who and what races are slated to happen for this year's cyclocross season that we know of for the moment. We're very much looking forward to being with you at all of the races here with the GCN Race Pass, so make sure that you check out the territory restrictions and see which races you can join us for. I'm very much looking forward to personally calling the races alongside my good friend Marty McDonald. Let us know down in the comments section which race you are looking forward to most, which riders you think are going to have the biggest impact on this year's series. We'll be seeing you at the events real soon.